All right, this is Becky Wiglin and the National Balloon Museum in August of 2019. This is
Debbie Harding from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Eleanor Vidala, balloonist.
There you
Gas Bag
go. Gas
Balloons.
bags.
Linda Videla, Philadelphia, PA.
And we are going to have a discussion on her life and early gas ballooning, and I'm going to pick her brain because no one around, not that I'm saying you're old, but no one around here can tell me anything about these early balloonists. So while I have you here, we're going to go through them first, then we're going to hit you up.
But I am an old one.
She's 95 years young. So, all right, now we inducted Tony Fairbanks into it, and his wife and daughter came, but they were kind of overpowering. I mean, we overpowered them, and they were kind of shy. And so, when you think of Tony Fairbanks, you were around him a lot. What do you think?
Well, actually, Tony Fairbanks, I consider the father of the current ballooning. He basically started us. He taught so many of us, and I really shouldn't use the word taught. Actually, you learn ballooning by doing, and by riding and as a passenger and a student learner with Tony, you learn to fly a balloon, And he just took everybody on, everybody was welcome, and there are a great many of pilots that owe the fact that they are pilots to the patience, understanding, and help of Tony Fairbanks. A great man.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right, Peter Pellegrino.
Pellegrino was actually he was kind of a laid-back man, but he was always there, also a good pilot. He was present at the 2 a.m. inflation, helped shifted sandbags, piloted. If you needed help, he was there to help you. And again, he worked as the chief in the air controllers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I think it's almost the creation of the Balloon Federation, I think it's due to Pete Pellegrino. He was the one that kind of fathered that. So again, a great big thank you is due him.
Where was he from?
Pardon?
Where was he from?
He lived in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, I'm pretty sure.
So a lot of you guys are from the Pennsylvania area.
Oh yeah, he was from Pennsylvania. And incidentally, he was a competent carpenter. He made furniture to sell. I know he made a big dining room set. It took him a long time to make it, and I think he ultimately did sell that.
Wow. Because there's a lot of, things that, like Ed Yost made the stuff around, he was a carpenter and made the stuff for his gas balloon, and I didn't know if maybe somebody, because you got some beautiful rings, I don't know the correct name, but the correct rings, the valves and stuff. Maybe, did he ever make any of those?
Not that I know of. And he flew over the Alps once, but Tony Fairbanks flew over the Alps 7 times as a pilot. Oh yeah. As a very pictorial plate representing each flight.
Oh really? And where are they?
Mike has them.
Oh.
Or had them, I don't know. He's trying to move some of the stuff out.
Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't come my way. I just know that. All right.
It's interesting. Tony would never mention that, but Pete has gone into the lecturing business about his one flight.
How about Connie Wolf? I have a question. I'd never heard of the lady until they inducted her, and every picture I've seen, she has this net on And
A veil.
a veil or whatever, and it wasn't like a black. It wasn't like it was going to protect anything. And I kept asking, even the guy who handles their foundation knew nothing. He didn't.
Did you ever find out? what
No,
she-
well, all they said that she thought it would protect her face from the sun, but I don't. There was very little veil there. Do you know?
That's what I was told too, that it was a protection from the sun.
I mean,
I never heard an explanation of it.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean,
Yes.
and she wore it even not when. I mean, I saw her dressed up with her husband. She had this veil on, and then in every balloon picture, I didn't see one picture she didn't have it on. And so I thought maybe you might have been in the know. So
I don't know.
You
All I
don't
know
know?
is she wore a veil.
yeah.
They,
I think in my heart, I think she thought it made her look mysterious.
yes, I think that's true. And Jean Marie Laskus is an author that's writing a book on Connie Wolf. And Connie Wolf Connie Wolf befriended her when she was a young woman and gave her all her archives.
Oh yeah.
And they would have meetings together. And since they've been at the Balloon Museum, at the Balloon Festival, it was, Connie was like a steampunk, do you know that era
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
clothing and
Yeah.
everything? So that was
Yeah.
her thing.
Oh, really?
She was a
Even- she was-
steampunker.
And she
Yeah.
kind of had a theatrical background.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But this is about Eleanor, so.
No, but we're getting to this. And so, what kind of a balloonist was she?
Connie loved to fly. And I think she enjoyed the companionship of other flyers with her. But she did love to fly. And she flew everywhere that she could and was involved in anything related to ballooning. For instance, Frances Shield was making a net on my front porch. Don't ask me how she found out, but there she was. And she just tried to be present at anything related to ballooning. You know. And she did a lot of it.
Because I saw, she had that balloon made that looks like a Liberty Bell. And it was only like, I think they only flew one time or something.
No, the Liberty
No?
Bell is still flying, and
Oh,
so
it is?
it was purchased. She gave that to Bob Dix, who is a balloonist in Doylestown or Jenkintown or something, and then he has sold it to a company out on the West Coast, and it's still flying.
Oh.
Now the other balloon, the Bluebell, it's called, I think, was a regular shaped balloon that she flew. Mike had thought it was only one time, but she donated it to the Franklin Institute. We were able to bring it out of the Franklin Institute and have it at the Balloon Festival and kind of reestablish the relationship that Eleanor and Tony and Connie had with the Franklin Institute. It turned out she flew it like 3 times, maybe. So it was longer than just the one time. But it was for the purpose of the 300th anniversary of the creation of Pennsylvania and Penns Woods and Philadelphia. So it was a grand gesture, and
Good.
it was up a card balloon, of course. So it's the
And she
beautiful
kind of tried to give a theatrical twist to all the
Everything,
flights that
yeah.
she made.
Very,
And
very
she had the background
patriotic.
for it, and also the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Very patriotic. I mean, basically, she broke the world's record, women's world record for the duration and altitude in gas ballooning just because the Russians had it. So yeah, she was more of a
Frontliner.
frontliner. Yeah.
So the Russians had the record, and she wanted to break it. So
Yeah,
she
so
broke
she hired people to help her with weather and with.
Does she still have it? Is it still?
Actually, Leslie.
Leslie broke it. Oh,
Leslie
really?
broke it.
Oh, wow.
And again, she deserves credit to Tony Fehrenbach, because he was there to support her, helped to
Did he?
inflate it on
Did
the
he,
ground and
help,
follow
teach her to
it.
fly?
And was there throughout the whole time of her flight.
Yes, don't you think?
Yeah.
Who taught her to fly?
Did he tell her?
Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah. All right, one more. Francis Shields.
Oh, Francis Shield. Francis Shield, in a sense, was the heart of our balloon club. He utterly, completely loved ballooning. It was heartbreaking when we learned that he was killed in an accident. Because not only did Francis Shield love ballooning, he loved life. He was one of those men that emanated friendship, and he looked happy all the time, and he would greet you as a friend, and you would really feel like a friend at the time. You know, and again, Tony taught him to fly. And he was very gracious with supporting new people that were driving for a pilot's license. I did a lot of flying with him. I made my 10,000-foot unplanned with Franny.
Yeah.
But very nice, giving, loving man.
Oh, good. Now, can you think of any other person that was in here? You said like this Jerry Burns and this Kate Lawrence.
There's a little story connected with Jerry Burns.
Okay.
He liked and enjoyed flying, but he was engaged to be married. And the first flight that his fiancée was, she was on the ground crying and crying because she was so afraid Jerry was up there in that sky, you know. And I tried to convince her that, you know, there's nothing, he's fine, he's safe up there. But she had no part of that, but he gave up ballooning after that.
No, he didn't.
Kate Ornson was just there for 2 or 3 flights. But I didn't consider her a true ballooner. She was never there to shift sandbags. She came at the time that she knew everything was inflated.
When
and
everything was
dying
done.
and rode.
Yeah.
She probably made 2 or 3 flights, and that was it. And she was gone with the wind.
Well, I want you to tell me about this. This is the picture. Can you see it or zoom in on it?
I can try.
Because we never see this. And we're...
Oh, it's that's important because...
I know, that's why you're going to tell me all about this. Did you get it?
Okay, yes, now you have a big head.
I think it's one of the earliest pictures.
I know, and so
There.
we around here who only see hot air, I saw this picture and I said, okay, I got to know about this because this is, well, first of all, I see it's like a box, and then you've got these nails, and then I know you're making the diamond down thing, but how on earth do you even start? Because it's string from one end to another.
That had to be, I would say, early 1952.
It's at 54, right there. Not that I'm correcting
I
you.
can't believe that it was that old.
But I looked at this and I'm thinking maybe we could build that. But I have no idea how that would even start. And even then, if you could build it, then how do you even start? Do you string it like a loom? I don't know.
The person that could have told you was Franny Shields.
Well, I didn't. I missed him.
Me too.
So what is it building,
It's-
Eleanor?
it's-
What is it building?
I'm looking to see whether there are diamonds present.
Yeah, there are, and it's the outside diamond.
So it's a net.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're building a net.
Okay.
That I can figure, but I don't understand even how you would start it, or do you just ring it and then tie a knot and then make your diamond?
I have to say, I'm sorry, I don't either. I was working when Freddie made the net on our front porch.
Really?
Well, you're in here.
Oh,
You
I
have
know.
no excuse. There you are, right
But
there.
that's not on my front porch.
So I thought, well, you can give me all the info because I don't have a clue on how that would even work. It's a fascinating picture.
It's an awesome picture.
It is a really cool picture.
I'm trying to see it. Somewhere there should be a top, but I don't see anything that looks like a top.
How did they happen to be making one on your front porch? this takes a lot of room. You have a big front porch?
I have a pretty good big fridge
Okay.
with
Move.
wide doors.
Wide doors, it had to be after that. So,
I didn't see him take it out though.
no. You
But-
probably, that was probably better.
And net you can kind of pile together and carry it
Yeah.
out, but making it, you really need room to get around it.
Because it's very interesting.
Can't help you.
All right, I noticed, did you look at your caricature that Mr. Billy Nova made with all your books and everything? Did you take a look at that?
I love that because I have books in every room of my house.
Well, I saw in here that you read by the hours. I thought,
Well, I used to read by the hour, and if I pick a book even up today and I get interested in it, I will stay up all night and read it and drag the next day.
I thought he did a really good job, you know, just from reading
I loved
the
it.
bio.
I love
Yeah,
that.
because she was saying that your father used to, your brother used to draw pictures like that too, that about life and stuff like that. I thought he did an excellent job. So, anyway,
Well, my brother and I were very close as youngsters. He would lie and I would swear to it.
that he was telling the truth.
We were,
Who was the older one?
my brother.
Oh, he was
22
leading
months.
you down the.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that. I heard it the other way.
Unfortunately, I was always the one that got into trouble. When we were very, very young, we lived in Cardiff, and it was a house all by itself, and it was bounded by forestry and maybe one path. I was maybe 3, my brother was maybe 5, and my mother happened to go in the house. She comes out, and there's my brother standing there. Where's Eleanor? Where's Eleanor? Eleanor's nowhere around. Eleanor went up the road. Well, of course, my mother went looking, couldn't find her. Well, she panicked because it was all forestry. So she called the school went out, the firehouse went out, everybody in the neighborhood is looking for Eleanor. And a gentleman who had lost a child a year before found me. I had walked off the road, was laid down in the bush, and went to sleep. Picked me up and brought me to my mother. My mother was a very self-contained woman, but when the man put me in her arms, she just dropped on the ground and started crying and crying and
Oh,
crying.
nice.
And then she said to my brother, "You better keep a better eye on her."
And I bet that man felt really good that he found you.
So Linda's right. I was the one who kind of got us into trouble. Another story about my brother and I.
What was his name?
Earl,
Earl. Okay.
just like his son.
So you're junior? No, just Earl.
We climbed a tree. Now, I don't know why we panicked when we climbed up that tree, but we started yelling and screaming. My mother comes out and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "We're afraid." My mother said, "You got up there, you get down." And then she went in the house. Well, I looked at my brother, and my brother looked at me, and we climbed out, and sure enough, we were safe.
Mother knows best.
I always wonder, though, whether my mother hung at the window watching.
Yeah, I'm sure she probably did. Yeah. Now it said that you loved astronomy and science.
That's true.
Do you look at the stars? Did you have one of those spy glasses?
I
or-
made a telescope.
You-
I don't put it out very often. Unfortunately, to the stage of life where I have trouble lifting anything except a sandwich. But I was very interested in astronomy for many, many years. I was very active in the field of
There are
astronomy.
many of your books about astronomy and,
Oh yeah, I
and
got a
science.
whole bookshelf full of them.
I imagine.
4 tier.
Wow. Do you think astronomy got you into ballooning?
Oh, absolutely. That's where I met Tony Fanpat.
No.
we were both making a telescope.
Oh, really?
And there are, how do I say explain? There are periods when you're making a telescope where it kind of just sits. And there's a lot of banter back and forth and talk, because really you have a pedestal and you have the lens and the one you're grinding against, and you go around and you're walking around this and you just talk. He was actually just talking about forming a balloon club. He talked about the fact that there were now balloons available at the Naval Air Station in Lakehurst. And so, my eyes light up and say, that sounds pretty interesting. So he kept in touch, and when he did get the balloons from the Naval Air Station, he let me know. So I was in the ground floor with those balloons. But I didn't know that some of them weighed 1,000 pounds. It was a lot of group work and time consuming.
Yeah,
But it got me into ballooning, and I loved it.
yeah. I mean, hot air ballooning is plenty work, but the gas ballooning is a lot of work with all
Well,
the
not
with
now.
with the sandbags
Being
and
here,
stuff. Yeah.
When you say gas bag to me, I automatically thinking ordinary cooking gas being used.
Yeah.
But I very rapidly learned here that when they're talking about a gas bag, they're talking about a hydrogen filter. And I made a point of trying to find out. I understand it. They can inflate a gas bag in a half hour.
Yeah.
Doesn't compare with the filling there.
I know. When I first started going to Albuquerque, they didn't have the quick fill, just that one thing around there. It was just like the Diamond, and 8 hours. And the lady that went with us, she said it's just like watching paint dry.
Right.
And
Not exciting.
oh yeah. And
Well,
she
that
said,
was even longer than we took roughly 4.5 to the.
yeah, and it was a gravity fill, and it just took forever. We'd come and go and come and go, and then finally, the young ones, they don't like to wait for anything, and so they invented this. They call it a quick fill, which is just basically a wire here, and then it comes down here, and you stick it up here, and it's 40 minutes, and it's
Oh,
up.
that's great.
Yeah, and then they're ready to go. That's a lot faster. But and then again, you don't need the ton of sand. You just need your ballast on there, and that's another thing. I know you have to have. I don't know how much ballast, but I suppose
Well,
it
you should
depends
roughly
on
have one sandbag for every 1,000.
1,000 feet. Okay, and they always say, that thing at the end that. I forget the name of it, that has the extra sand that you can have the little scoop that you could throw out there. Do you know the name of that? Anyway, there's a name for that. And then they said you always have to end with ballast. You can't land if you don't have ballast. Why is that?
Oh, yes, you can.
I know. Yeah, I heard you throwing everything out. But normal people say that you have to have ballast in there. And I would think it would be easier to land if you didn't have anything weight.
Yeah.
But they said you can't land unless you have ballast. And I don't understand that.
Well, when you're landing, you really don't know what you're going to meet on the ground. If you meet heavy winds and you start dragging, you don't want that. You want to try to stop that. But the other thing that I don't know whether they have it now or not, we had what we called a drag rope, which we threw out. It was maybe 300 or 400 feet long. It was an aid in landing, but you didn't do it unless you had an open space because you could catch on things. But we would yell down to the people, catch the drag rope, and people would.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, people were very helpful in the landings, and they were eager, and they were happy, and there was a lot of joy associated with landing among people.
Yeah, I think, people love to see balloons around
That's
here.
true.
They love to come, and the balloonists try to, if they've got little kids, they tether them up and down, or, when they first started, we got the people that didn't recognize crops, so you'd have to have a picture. This is a corn stalk, and this is soybeans. You don't land in either one of this. This is a hay bale. Don't hit it. And we had all kinds of problems like that. Now they laugh at it, but they didn't have a clue. Just like when I got a display from Japan. This is a rice field. This is some other thing I'd never heard of. Don't land in this. You can land in this. And I'm thinking, it kind of all looks the same except for the color.
Yesterday, when I was talking about a landing where the farmer came out with two dogs, and I got, he was furious because we landed on the edge of a freshly manured field. I mean, he was really livid. He kept talking about the idle rich who have nothing better to do than fly around. I'm going, idle rich? I don't look around. And I'm saying, is he crazy? I had to save for this.
Yeah, we had some of the hot air. They landed in manure. They weren't the farmer wasn't angry. He just thought they were stupid. But and it drug in it, and so this poor balloon, even after a bath, it always smelled like pig manure. So they just named it Miss Piggy. It was so bad. It was so bad.
When it finally settled, I turned around and said, "Oh, that's what that funny smell was."
Yeah. So, and it says, all right, like the Franklin Institute. That's a big deal. Now, we don't know about the Franklin Institute.
Franklin Institute is a science museum with an emphasis on astronomy. It's a museum, of course, and it's a big museum, and it's a famous museum. It's probably the second engineering astronomical museum in the United States. I worked there full-time 6 times. But as you know, museums are not great pay.
No, they're not. No, they're not. So.
But I loved the jobs, so I did get a much better job, and fortunately it worked out well. But I continued working there, a paid worker, for 18 years because I loved the job. I loved the kids, and I just loved the whole museum, really.
Well,
one of the funny things that Eleanor likes to say is that she loved working at the Franklin Institute, but she couldn't afford it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I said, you know about that.
Yeah, I know about that. Well, the part that I thought was interesting when it says you got to record the orbit of the Russian Sputnik, and how did that go?
We were notified. You have to recognize that the Franklin Institute was a very recognized scientific museum. So we were notified that the Russians were putting a first satellite in space, called the Sputnik. And we were given the exactly coordinates of what it was. So it was 2 a.m. Well, you know, I was a relatively young woman, and I'm driving there. Nobody else at 2 a.m. in the morning, you know, nobody else on the highway, and I got stopped by the police. What are you doing here driving all by yourself? Well, I'm here to see the Sputnik. Sputnik? What's a Sputnik? Well, it's a space. It's been put into the orbit by the Russians. The Russians put it in. I said, well, yeah, so I'm going to watch it as it passes through the Philadelphia skyline. You're going to watch it passing through the Philadelphia skyline? He said, where? I said, the Franklin Institute. So one looks at the other and says, we'll escort you there. They not only escorted me, they got out of the car and walked me into the Institute. They absolutely did not believe it.
I'm surprised they didn't wait for the Sputnik to go by. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, and did you see it?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Well, just
But it was
checking.
kind of a little dot. I don't know why, but I expected to see a spaceship.
All right, and then it says, where is it? In 1952, the first balloon flight, after you got a balloon, of the Balloon Club of America. And that's the precursor of the BFA, correct?
Not the first one.
Not the first one.
No, not the first one.
Okay.
We made, we put the first one up in '52. And we were really represented the whole ballooning community in the United States. But in '54, the Lakehurst, not Lakehurst, the
Ohio?
Goodyear people formed a club. They had an iteration of names. I think now they're called just the Lighter Than Air Society. And they came and flew with us. But in 1961, the two balloons got together and formed the Balloon Federation.
All right, and that's when we got the president and the secretary and the.
Well, you know that Pete Pellegrino, as the head of the air control power in Philadelphia, already had an association with the FAA. And I'm pretty sure he was the one that contacted the FAA for forming a balloon part of the Federation. And we, the three of us were seated down together, and Pete mentioned that he had contacted the Federation, they were interested in forming. And he said, I'll be president, and Franny was there. He said, Franny, you be vice president, and Eleanor, you be secretary. Voila, Balloon Federation.
So Franny, you're talking about Francis Shield.
Yeah, yes,
Did
correct.
everyone call him Franny or just you?
Franny, no, everybody called
him Franny?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we've not heard that before. That's why you have so many of these memories that I'm trying to draw them out. Now, I want to know why it took you until no, I shouldn't say this, but why did it take you until 1963 to become a pilot when you were doing everything else?
Well, that's the ultimate goal.
Well, I know, where you were just working your way up to being a pilot.
Well, yeah.
Because these guys.
You know, you have to recognize that I only got to fly every fourth flight. I wasn't on every flight.
No.
I was on the ground crew. You know? And actually, I think in a way I forgot that I was aiming for a pilot's license until finally I said to myself, why are you doing all this? And I said, oh yeah, what am I going to pilot? So I took the test and I got an 88.
Well, good. And so back in then, what kind? I know. Did you have to go to like I don't know? Did they have safety seminars or anything like that, or did you just go to the FAA and?
Oh, I just found out where the test was given and when, and I do have it documented. I have the record of everything except I don't have a copy of my license. But I did of course record the number, because after that, when I was a pilot, I put it in my log, you know.
Well, can't you call the FAA and have them look back clear till 1961?
So far, it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened.
Yeah, I tried. But
You did?
Yeah, but it was not successful.
So anyway, well, I have this other special picture. Can you zoom in on this picture? And then I'll tell you. Supposedly you've never seen this picture.
Pick it up a
before.
little bit.
And it's Lois.
Hurry up, I'm looking at the back.
Got
Okay.
it? Lois Fairbanks sent this to me and said, this is your
Oh, yes.
the last flight,
Oh, never die.
and Bob Sparks, and that was your last.
Notice he has a helmet on, the scary cat.
That's good. Yeah, that's another funny thing that she says about Bob, that he was very conservative.
And this, I'm pretty sure, is Bill Lewis.
But anyway, that's supposed to be the last flight in your. I would say.
That I don't remember that really, but
Anyway, I have a letter, and she explains everything, and
it looks
the whole
like a
thing.
bunch of teenagers helping
Yeah.
out. You know.
Yeah.
Can you tell what balloon it is?
Well, Bobby's goal was to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. You know.
Yeah, he tried. He told me that.
Yeah, I
He
was
tried
there.
twice,
I
yeah.
was there at the first attempt.
Yeah.
You know. It was a weird feeling seeing him going out, and I'm pretty sure he went aloft in the early morning hours, because I remember it being dark. You know.
Yeah, he was,
And he tried, I don't know when he made the second attempt, but I do know he tried twice. You know.
well, and his I don't know, partner or whoever was supposed to fly with him um, squashed both flights because one time he dug it out, one time he was hanging on, and it was too much weight and the whole thing. He was not thrilled with the whole thing, but she thought maybe you would enjoy that.
You know, basically, you're talking about a big ocean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Can you tell what balloon that is from just the wires? The ropes? Or the placement of it? Where was it? Do you know where the launch site was?
it looks to me like it's in front of a motel to me.
I wrote it on the back of
Did it?
this.
Okay.
I should have brought the letter in, but. It says Bob and Sparks and Eleanor in the final flight of the Balloon Club of America in 1973.
So it doesn't say where.
Doesn't say where.
Is that the private eye?
I don't know.
I don't
That's
know.
what they're saying.
Well, it's a picture of me in a balloon with Bobby, and I really don't, honestly.
Supposed to be the
I
last
don't
flight.
remember it.
Did you have in your logbook the flight with Bob?
I'd have to check it.
There you go.
But Bobby Spark is a very conscientious conservative flyer.
Yeah, he lent me his jumpsuit, and I could tell that because he has these balloons here, and then where the baskets are, he keeps a dime here and a dime here, so that when he flew, and he would land, then he would find a telephone and he'd get these dimes out and get a pay phone and have somebody come and pick him up. I said, okay, that'll work. What if you're in the middle of a cornfield?
He's another theatrical person.
Yeah, he was very, very theatrical. Oh yeah, he's quite a.
But you know,
quite a guy.
in the same token, there was a meeting at the Stonehurst barn, and Mike called. You know, when Mike calls you, it's very important that you be at this meeting. So I went. I was and you know, spontaneously, Bobby got up and gave a very moving testimonial to me. You know, without telling me, without asking me, just doing it. You know.
Mhm.
He was very giving with the women pilots. He really was, and is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So, well, we hit it off when we were out here, and he would call me and send me stuff. And so when his wife came, and I said, oh, I've really been looking forward to meeting you. I have been looking forward to meeting Becky just to see who he calls all the time.
I'm going to give you a challenge.
Oh, no.
I challenge that you out-talk Bobby
Oh,
Sparks.
there's no way. I'm a talker, but he doesn't breathe on some days. I swear. Yeah. Can I ask you about your husband?
Sure.
Okay. If that was a bad time, but he's just kind of there, and there's several very nice pictures of it there. And his name was Edwin Bailey. And you got to, did he work at the Franklin? Is that where
he was the astronomer at the Franklin Institute. He lectured in the planetarium. And we had an association of roughly 40 years. We were a little slow to marry.
I see. Oh, you didn't want, you were a little slow getting your license, a little slow to marry. That's fine.
Well, you know, people ask why, because we were together almost all the time, anytime there was free time, and we did everything together. They asked why. Well, I said, well, I was busy. I was enjoying myself. I was active in this and that. And there were no demands made, so I just didn't think about the passage of time. I was 63 when I got married.
I saw that. Okay. I thought maybe it was just, you just met him and there it was. And it was one of those, soulmate things. But 40 years, you knew him by then.
I think that's a record.
Yeah, I think so. So, I I don't see anywhere in here that,
This is another incident when I look back and say, why?
so I don't see anywhere that he went into ballooning. So you just stayed with the stars and
This
he
is
stayed on the
funny.
ground?
He did come out and help once in a while, and he had a ride. And it was kind of a relatively kind day. So he got in a balloon, and they flew for a little while, and the wind changed, and it flew right back to where he got out. He got out of the basket and said, "This is a waste of time, you don't get anywhere." That was Ed.
That was,
Yes.
all the pies are pumpkin here.
Say that. You only
What's
said, all the pies are pumpkin here.
It was a long time before my mother got that.
Tell her about Grandmom's ride. Grandmom's ride when she went up in the balloon.
Oh, my mother was kind of an auxiliary to the Balloon Club of America. You know, look back when the Akron Balloon Club came, I got the brilliant idea. I had to invite him home for dinner. I called my mother in the morning and said, "Mother, would you mind if I brought 10 people home for dinner?" And my mother, bless her heart, said, "Oh no, I'll have everything ready." And every once in a while, she served as the checkpoint. Because we had no direct contact with anybody on the ground, we established a telephone system. We agreed on who would be called. And as I said this morning, basically it was the first thing you were supposed to do, but it was always the last. I mean, you didn't have the time, you know. Well, anyhow, my mother came out the field one day, and it started out for her gloriously, because she loved birds. A whole flock of goose came flying over, and she's going, following along. And Tony Fairbanks, again, bless his heart, offered a ride to my mother. Well, I don't get my daring. Strangely, my mother said, "Oh, yes." So she climbed in. Now, don't ask me why, but my mother had a great yearning to see the racetrack. As it happened, the balloon flew right over the racetrack, and when she came down, she said, "Oh, that was nice." And she said, "I did see the racetrack."
I thought she was going to be following the birds or
Oh.
the geese.
And I said, "Well, how did you like it?" She says, "It's very nice up there."
Well, she was more impressed than your husband, right?
Well, the interesting thing is my mother was born in Germany. Everybody that met my mother automatically said, "Oh, you're German." And I remember when I was in college, there was a long distance call from somebody that they said to me spoke with a very strong accent. And I'm thinking, who do I know that speaks with an accent? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that speaks with an accent. As it happened, my mother called me the next day. And she said, "I called you last night." I said, "They're talking about my mother with an accent?" Do you know, I never, ever heard my mother's accent.
I never did either.
I would go away and I would come back and I would listen. And I would go, "Nah, she speaks good English."
When you
never heard her
grow up,
accent.
when you grow up to it, you're just used to it. You're not thinking about it. Just like we don't think we have an accent, but people from the out east, they go, "Oh, I know you have that Midwestern accent." Well, the Southern, when the y'alls, and all that, there's an accent.
Right.
And I love Australian and English. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
listen to them, but you get used to it and you don't even think about it. So for there.
Did
Now-
you ever hear her accent?
Well, no, but I was raised with her too. He didn't either. No.
So Vidalia is German?
Videla.
No,
Adela?
my-
Excuse me?
her name was Ditka,
Oh,
D-I-T-T-K.
that's German, yes.
Yeah. Her father was Italian.
Oh, I see, okay. So you had a
My
German
mother
and
was German,
Italian?
my father was French and Italian. I'm a League of Nations.
Yeah.
True American.
There should have been some good food flying around there
Oh,
between
yeah.
the Germans
My
and
mother was without doubt one of the best cooks. Right?
That's right, definitely, definitely.
How
She
dare
worked-
you, you couldn't say anything else.
She worked as a.
She really was a good cook.
As a
she could-
domestic for
Cousins.
the cousins and
She
multiple.
could cook German, Italian, you name
They
it.
were a military couple,
No.
family. The
Uh-huh.
cousins, she was, cooked for them and took care of their children.
Mm.
She cooked wonderful dishes. Tell her, but
When she said
I
she
know.
invited 10 people home for, I mean, the table would be this big.
Oh,
and it
yeah.
would be filled with food.
with that
And there would be, my mother was a very fancy cook.
appetizer,
The table was set with china,
oh, had to be
glass,
perfect.
flowers in the center, big knife, a big fork, little fork, knife,
Yes.
a small spoon if there was soup spoon,
That-
1 inch from the edge.
Yes, had to be
Gil's mother
exactly
was
right.
from
Glass
Norway,
over
and
here.
that's the way she set her table. And the first time I went to eat
Isn't it
there,
great?
I'm going, and the flowers and the candles and everything,
That's the
and
way my mother
and
was.
nothing was on the thing. If you had ketchup, it was in a container, and it was on a thing.
That's
And if you
right.
had milk, it was in a like a martini thing. And I'm thinking, oh my word! So I told him, because she was nervous to meet me, but I told him, I said on the way home, I said, if you think I'm going to wash all those extra dishes, I can tell you this is going nowhere.
Oh,
Because
Yeah,
everything was extra. I mean, you had a charger, you had this, and it was like that. Because that's the way they were raised. I
Every
mean, that
meal
was,
was perfect.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's the way my
female.
mother was.
oh yeah.
And not only for company, it was the same way for family.
Yeah. Well, she was from Norway,
Holidays.
and she everything was like that.
But she did have an advantage. She had a kitchen slave. I peeled the potatoes. I cut up the potatoes. I loved doing it,
Yeah.
though, but
Earl didn't get to help. If that wasn't a manly thing,
my mother had 2 children,
Yeah.
a boy and a girl. I washed the dishes and my brother dried the dishes.
Oh, at least he got to do.
And the lady next door who had 4 daughters and 1 son thought that was terrible. My mother says they're both capable of doing the same thing.
Good for her.
That's right.
Awesome.
And actually, my brother could cook, but he didn't like to clean up.
Yeah.
He
He
could
was a
bake.
pretty good baker,
Right, he
right?
could bake very good. Especially his apple pies. Yeah.
Oh, he's a baker too, huh? Wow. So, all right. Now, what I want to make sure if you have something you want to say and be remembered for, I want you to tell us now because a lot of this stuff I don't know, but you have such a fabulous life and we don't know about the gas and we don't know, that's why I wanted a lot of these people. And your stories are just amazing. So you still got some more tucked away because she said you did.
I think the way I ended it yesterday, when you leave the gravity of the earth, you are as free as you are ever going to be. And the fact that you are free, you ride the winds. And I think that's fabulous. I really think that's fabulous. And in all sincerity, I wish every single balloonist fair skies, gentle wind, and above all, a good, safe landing.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
Should I think we should end there because it's so good, but
Yeah.
I did want to ask her to tell you the story of Pete and in Europe when the balloon came apart and
Oh, we always brought over a 35,000 and the auxiliary accessories, the net valve and all that kind of stuff. And we were inflating for a race in St. Nicholas. Have you ever been in Europe? Well, no, you probably haven't been
No.
in Europe for the races.
No,
But it's
that's
under
on
the
my list.
control
Yeah.
of the balloon meister. And it's not like here where it's an open field. It's kind of fenced off in some way. The general public doesn't walk in. It's the balloons and the balloon meister. Well, we're all fully inflated. The balloon, we were on the ground, and a balloon started up, and it hit the outside of our balloon and tore it.
Oh,
Well, you know, European, oh, what a shame, and everybody was very upset. But I gotta say this, I always thought of the Europeans as very sophisticated, but they took that as a sign that we shouldn't fly. I mean, you're talking about Americans, we travel 3,000 miles, we are going to fly.
we're gonna fly no matter what.
So Franny asked whether they had a fire company with a ladder, so they brought it. And I think, when I'm thinking back, I think they took mass because they filled it, they repaired it on the spot, and it was already filled with hydrogen.
Oh,
So, you know, you don't exactly want to breathe that in.
no.
So
how did they fix it? I mean, did you stitch it or did you?
It was
tape it or-
adhesive, yeah. it was
Adhesive?
Yeah.
Oh,
And we went up, and you know, the Europeans really shook their head about that.
Yeah, but
Well, you know,
so Francis climbed up the ladder and did it on the side with the
And
balloon.
Pete Pellegrino helped
inflated.
him.
Yeah.
Eleanor
Really?
very
Yeah.
carefully watched them on the ground.
And
Leslie
and
said
they
that
went
that
on
would
to
never
float?
happen now,
Oh,
even here. I mean,
Yeah.
you would just never even think of
because
doing
FAA
that.
wouldn't do that, yeah.
No.
I think basically they used adhesive, but they also used some kind of binding on the outside too. Because adhesive has a drying period, you know,
Mhm.
all adhesive does, you know.
And so they flew and how'd they come out?
It was fine, we didn't have any problem.
No problem.
It wasn't a long flight. though.
Yeah. So the Europeans
Yeah.
couldn't believe.
But we flew.
That's the main thing. Well, if you come all the way over there, you know, you'd hate not to fly. So, do you have anything you want to add? Any good story?
Yeah, I'll tell you about a story. I don't remember the year, I think it was in the 80s. We went to Germany because it was Count Zeppelin's 100th anniversary of inventing the Zeppelin. Remember?
With the balloon.
Lighter than
the
air.
balloon,
Yeah, Lighter Than Air group this
Yeah.
was. They were very nice people. And we got, it was a special dinner they had. And at this dinner, we met two people that were on the Hindenburg. One was a communications officer and one was the cook. And the cook's leg was down this end and the communication officer was down this end. So when the Hindenburg blew up, the cook ran down to the communications officer to, you know, for them to get help and get. So they were coming down and they were. People were there with ambulances ready with the Americans to get them, and they're going, jump, jump, jump. So the communications officer says, so we jumped. And he said, oh my God, they put us on a stretcher and they were going so fast down and driving like crazy. We thought, my God, we didn't die in the jump, we're going to die in a car accident. He was so cute telling the stories. He says, Americans drive crazy.
I remember we were listening to the radio, and the man, he goes, well, it's on fire. He got so excited, you know, you could hardly understand what he's saying if you've ever heard the recording
Yeah.
of that. But I remember listening to that.
Being in the right
Everybody,
place,
of
at the right
course,
time.
felt bad about
Oh,
that.
it's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, and it went up so fast.
Yeah. And he was
So
lucky
you,
for the two survivors.
yeah, so you heard that when
Oh,
it
yeah.
happened?
They got to recognize my mother was German, and
Oh.
anything deep down associated with it, she would automatically would follow it. You know, to give my mother great joy at Christmas was to turn over whatever you gave her and have it say "Made in Germany."
Okay. Gotcha.
It's just part of it, you know.
Yeah.
Any time spent with Aunt Eleanor is an adventure, even now when we go out, something always happens. But I was lucky enough to go on a lot of trips with her when we went to China. And the woman we went to China with was one of her friends. And I did not know it, but she was wearing a wig. And I didn't get to room with them. We were supposed to all room together, the three of us, but they gave me a lady from, oh, I forgot what country it was, but she was a missionary. And she kept on saying, Christopher Columbus is buried in, I can't remember the town, but she says, don't anybody tell you any other thing than that. That's the truth. That's where his remains are. So that's the only thing she ever said to me while we were together the whole time. So anyway, I would walk down the hall and I thought, let me see if Aunt Eleanor's there. And this woman answers the door and she's got this real long braid. I didn't recognize her at all. So I said, oh, I'm at the wrong door. She says, no, Linda, you're at the right door. She says, I just don't have my wig on. She says, this is my real hair. That was so funny.
And she has long hair and she had a wig?
Yeah.
Jeez,
She had
usually
it
it's short
underneath
hair.
there. She had a
Well, when she was wearing the big, somebody said to you, is that your own hair? She said, well, it certainly is. I wasn't paid for it.
she was funny. And she,
Betty's
Betty, yeah, remember she had she smuggled, she was giving out pamphlets to them, religious pamphlets, and they took us to a, well, they didn't call it a church, but, you know, for, and we didn't know she was doing that. We could have been arrested. We had no idea.
Well, originally Betty Ziff had asked me to room with her. And we figured in our ignorance, well, Linda could room with us. But a Japanese room is like this. You have a bed here, and there's this little space, and you have a bed there. And that is it. You know?
Well,
So there
sometimes
was
you don't
no
even-
way.
So you had a
There
Western.
was no way.
Some of them is just a rug with a little tiny wooden thing, and then I've seen the kind that they slide in here. There's no room to even turn around.
There is absolutely no room. It's for two people, and they mean two people. And it helps if you're skinny.
So why were you in China, for a balloon thing or for something
No,
else?
just
just to go.
vacation.
Oh, okay. So
But that's another story.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to use public transportation. You weren't with us with this. I was with Aileen Bennetley, I think. And but you know, it's easy to use transportation. This was in Japan because you get a ticket and it has the place where you should be and the seat. When the train comes in, automatically the identification number, I forget, was A, B, or C, that you had, the train would stop there and you'd get in and there would be your seat. And this is true of all their trains. Very methodical, never late. But the stations, we got out, we could not find our hotel. I finally said to Amy, I think they moved it. Well, we didn't know it, that there were two entrances. You know, we went out the wrong one and could not find it. But the man on the street in Japan pretty much speaks English. Maybe not fluently, but
Yeah.
you can get an answer, you know.
They figured it out.
So if there's anything in your life that you would change, is there anything that you can think of?
I think one would have gotten married earlier.
So, all right. Anybody, any more? Got anything? I think you've done well, and thank you very much.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. You're a honey.
Now hold up the pictures one at a time.
Finally get them.
Well, when she's talking, it's a little difficult to do that, so just,
I have to ask Mike about that picture.
okay.
I'll get the letter.
No,
I thought you had. I thought you said okay.
no, she did.
Didn't it sound like it was all crazy?
All right, now lower it down a little bit. Okay, that's about as good as it gets. Now pick up the other one.
Can I put this down?
I think so. Down just a little. A little bit more. There you go. Okay. Now we have both pictures.
You got it?
Yep.
So, but I'm just enthralled with this, and I just can't hardly believe how people can do that. But I don't think they do that much anymore.
I
So-
should shut up, but the Malcolm Forbes story that you got on the plane with him, right?
You mean you
Well,
let
you
him
know
on the
that
plane?
Malcolm Ford asked to join us. and we-
I know, and you
we
canceled
declined,
him.
you know.
Then you didn't have any money. See, I
Right.
think you should have thought that through.
But he did buy a balloon of his own, and of course, we were willing to help him in any way. And I forget what was
Was it a
going.
gas balloon that he bought?
No, hot air.
Oh, okay, because I know he bought hot air.
Oh, yeah, it was a hot
Yeah,
air balloon.
Dewey Reinhardt has, he was here and he was in line to go into the Barnes tent over at the field, and he didn't know who this man was, and he was looking in and he said, "Do you know anything about these balloons?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "They're pretty good." And he said, "Well, I'm thinking about buying one." He said, "Well, I have 5 of them." And he said, "Oh." And so he introduced himself, and it was Malcolm Forbes. And he goes, "Okay, 5. I'm working about 1, yes."
Well, Malcolm Ford was very generous with people. I forget what the event was, but we were helping him. There was a flyby watching something. I don't know what it was at this point. But anyhow, the rumor got around that he would not be able to take everybody. So sneaky me. I found it, approached Malcolm Ford, and I said, "I hear there's a little bit of trouble about getting everybody on the plane." I said, "I hope you're not prejudiced against women."
Then he was stuck. Yeah.
So I was included. But anyhow, you get on this plane, it had been gutted. It was like a living room. He had a valet that came in and took off his shoes and put on slippers, and then cocktails were served with hors d'oeuvres. I said, "Oh boy, this is a different life."
Yeah. All right. Are we done? I mean,
If-
are you still taping?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, we're gonna sign off with.
But one last comment. I got
Okay.
a Christmas card from that time until the day he died.
Really?
Well,
Every year.
Good.
Every year.
Good. So, well, we're signing off, and this is
Linda Videla.
Eleanor Vidala.
and Becky Wigland,
Debbie Harding.
and we're out.
Don't forget him.
He's
Earl Videla.
Oh, he's awful.
Pearl.
Okay.
Earl the Pearl.